All right, welcome back to the Cigar Guys Podcast. Jared and myself, Alex, are back here at, you guessed it,
Empire Social.
It is Empire Social, back here in the members' boardroom in the back. And we have a special guest today. We're smoking the cigars, and we're going to talk a little bit about them and his story. But I want to introduce Fermin Perez. He is here with us today. How are we doing today?
Doing great, guys. Thanks for inviting me over.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we met a few weeks ago. Got to get to know you a little bit. Of course, Byron made the introduction, and we got to smoke some of your cigars, and now we're here. So now we get to talk even more.
There you go. So if you want to know a little bit about me, I was born in Cuba.
Yeah, just give us your brief origins, your brief story.
Okay.
And then, tell us kind of how you got into doing your own brand and, what happened with that.
It was interesting. A few years back, a buddy of mine said, hey, you're really good at marketing. You're really good at doing sales. And he was actually really good at making cigars. And so we kind of got together after one drunk night in December, after all the parties. And we said, okay, let's get this business going. It took us about 3 or 4 months to kind of get everything done, get the boxes, get things going. And it was actually a great experience, and I started learning a lot about the business. So what we did is, when we originally started, I started with a manufacturer in Nicaragua, in Estelí. And, every time that we went down there and we learned more about the tobacco and the way that he was making it. And funny thing is, we got the business started, and we just did 10,000 cigars just to see how it was going to go. Well, let's get a feeling, and got through those 10,000, sold them really well. Did a couple more, and then the cigar started coming out a little wrong. They would cut off. The taste wasn't right. There was a few issues. And then we also had a particular trademark issue with that cigar brand that I did with my good friend. And I said, here I'm already like maybe 5-6 months into this. And I'm like, I started reading up more because I loved cigars all my life, but I really hadn't looked into the whole business aspect of it. I just enjoy it, just like everybody else, right? And so I started learning more. I said, Arturo Fuentes, Rocky Patel, AJ Fernandez, Oliva, they all have their names after their brand. And because we had a problem with our trademark at the beginning, what I said was to my good friend is like, hey, I've got an idea. I'm going to create my own brand, and I'm going to call it my name. Everybody's, has their name. If you want one, I'll help you do it, because I'm kind of like much better at creating that stuff than he is. And he's like, no, I think I'm done. He's like, I think I'm done. We've done great. We did about 20-something thousand cigars. We sold them in the South Florida market really well. And then I created what we see now, Fermin Perez, right? And that's why we were having that conversation before, is I really didn't launch fully into the business until I started the business in May of 2021. And then, so you can say that probably for an entire year, I spent going back and forth, trying to get everything done, trying to get all the boxes right, see if the brand actually, as we call it in the business, has legs, right? If I have a good cigar or not, or what's going on. So coming back to that original story, when we were making our first cigar, we had somebody else making the cigar for me. And every time I wanted something a little different, hey, I want you to make it stronger. I want you to do this Vitola. I want you to make, can you do any of these things? And he's like, nope. And I'm like, man, this is not good.
Yeah.
So I got together with my guy that makes my boxes, and I said, man, I really need some help. I need somebody that can, make me my cigars, and I want to be able to learn more about this industry. I want to be able to grow with it. And he goes, I got these little 4 brothers, they're not little, but, I got 4 brothers, and they're in this like shack, and I know you, Fermin, you're like cool guy. You go anywhere. So he takes me over to this cool little shack, and the funny thing is, they did have an air conditioning in there
Oh, okay. So
where
they
they
had,
kept
they
where
at
they
least
kept
had
the
that.
cigars. They had an air conditioning, but everything else was kind of like
Right.
very, you know. So it was great. I sit down with these guys and I said, they give me a cigar. I try it. I'm like, hey, that's not so bad. But I actually want a 6x52, and how about if you make it a little bit stronger? Let's put some Estelí in there. And here I am talking. One of the brothers goes in, whips up a cigar, and 15 minutes later he's got, try this. I'm like, that was pretty quick, coming from somebody that says no, no, no. And I'm like, okay, let's try it. I tried it. I'm like, that's not so bad, you know. I kept doing that. So I made a good judgment that day, and I gave him a chance. And 4 years now, working together. We now have the factory in La Calle Central in Estelí. We can produce about 1 million cigars a year. And so it's been 4 years since we started that, 3.5 years maybe, since we started that. We just launched our a little retail store because we always get so many people coming by since we're so easy to get to when you're in Esteli. Kind of like a boutique factory. And in that boutique factory, you also have, we have a retail. So you can go there, have coffee, enjoy my cigars, and take a stroll and take a look at the factory, how we operate.
So it's no longer a shack. You have built it up to be an actual factory itself, and now retail lounge area.
Yeah, it's like I go over there now and I can sit down in my place and enjoy coffee. We have the service. You can have a drink, and visit the factory and see how everything. If you want to roll your own stick, all you got to do is ask the girls, and they'll help you out. They'll show you how to make a cigar.
That's awesome. Now, are you able to roll your own cigars?
I don't roll cigars. I gotta let the guys,
Yeah.
be able to do something. I know the entire process. I know everything about it. And I've learned so much thanks to them and thanks to all the friends within the industry. Because let me tell you, if there's an industry that everybody helps themselves, it's in this industry. There's other cigar makers that help show you the way and have actually taught me a lot about
Yeah.
tobacco.
Sorry, you're going to say something.
You're just curious, that first factory that didn't want to let you have any modifications, was that about control, or they just weren't open to letting you change, vitolas, flavors, tobacco, etc.?
But and now that I have a little bit more experience, I think maybe it was in the way that it was kind of said, communication. Because what happens is there's manufacturers out there that they do their own aging, and they produce their own tobacco, right? So what happens is they have particular blends that they can use, right? So for them to go out and find something new, it's a lot of work, right? And then when you're small like me, and I'm saying, hey, make me 5,000, 10,000 cigars. This guy is not going to budge on that. He's like, I make 4 or 5 million cigars. For me to go out and have to buy this particular wrapper that you want, this particular binder, filler, what have you, you want to do all this stuff, but that's hard to do. So in a sense, I'll be honest with you, it was maybe my ignorance and not knowing too much about the business, and maybe the way that he communicated that information to me, that it wasn't right, because I make white labels. I probably make 8 different cigar brands, besides mine. So, and I do it for that same reason, because I tell them exactly what it is. If you make this hard, and you want something that it's too exclusive, you're only going to be able to make a certain amount of tobacco, because that tobacco is not going to be found, and then you're not going to have consistency. So if you want consistency, you have to use a particular amount of tobacco for your cigars.
Yeah. So when you first went with these four brothers and they were first starting, I mean, were they sourcing tobacco from elsewhere, or were they only using tobacco that they were growing locally?
So we source tobacco, and they source. We all now partnered up
as a group
as a group, and we source tobacco from different purveyors all around. I mean, all the big guys, the Oliva Tampa, what have you. The different companies that are out there. There's about 100 different people. So what happens is, you got to choose the ones that you want, and you got to stick to them. So that your consistency is there, and make sure that they have the amount of tobacco that you're going to use. Usually what we try to do is we try to calculate how much tobacco we're going to need for the next 6 months or a year, and we buy that and we keep that in stock so that the consistency in the cigar is always going to be the same.
So when you first started with them, were they doing that, or was it a much smaller operation?
Yeah, it's much smaller, but we they're really good at making, when you're talking about blending, right? I think I talked to you about this before. It was, Johnny Walker. When you make a Johnny Walker, right, you have about 160 different whiskeys to make a Johnny Walker. So that's blending. So that's sort of something that you do in tobacco, right? When you get the tobaccos and you start feeling, so you put a little bit more of a leaf, less than a leaf. You age one more. You work it so that blend becomes exactly the same every single time. So every time that we'll do a big production, we'll always keep some in stock to make sure that our consistency is always there. And when we're buying new tobacco and we're doing, we continue to make sure that the consistency is there.
Of course. So what ended up being your first blend or your first SKU that, hit the market, and then how did it go from there?
So when we first started, I wanted to go classic. I'm kind of like in marketing, right? So I didn't want to do anything too pushy. I didn't want to go too light. I wanted something for the market. So I came out with the classic Connecticut, the classic Habano, and the Bold, right, which is a Maduro. It's a San Andres wrapper. And so that was our core. So we started there, and we started doing pretty well. And then maybe a year and a half into it, I started obviously learning more about the tobacco, because I love going and experimenting. I go into the fields and I'll try the tobacco and I'll see why the tobacco is different in one area than the other. And it has a lot to do with the land. It has a lot to do with the growers, the seed. I mean, there's a few variables. So I started learning more. So I didn't want to create a cigar, or I didn't want to create more lines until I absolutely knew, that I know what I'm selling. You have to know your craft. I didn't want just anybody else making my cigars.
Yeah.
I wanted to know what's in it. I wanted to know a little bit more about how to make a cigar before I started growing that much more.
And so that you could also be more involved in the process and have a little more control of what is being made, versus like with, someone else, maybe the first guy, you're kind of relying on him to do everything for you. But this way, you have an understanding and you're able to kind of control what is going on in terms of like the blending, and obviously you rely on your guys big time.
Yeah.
But you have a better understanding of what's going on.
Absolutely. It's important. We do it from zero. Every time that we are going to make something new, we make sure that the tobacco is going to be readily available. We launched Esmeralda about a year and a half ago, and it's doing really well. But there's key ingredients in there, key tobaccos in there that need to be in stock. Some of the others we can play with, but there's a particular Dominican tobacco, Seco, that we use. And I made sure that we have enough of that so that works right. The Estelí, which is the cigar you're having now, that was important, because consistency is key. But yes, when I started, I did not know much about this. And I started learning, and I traveled and really enjoyed it. I mean, I got to tell you guys, I actually enjoy tobacco, making much more than wine and spirits, which I've been in for 25 years.
So tell us a little bit more about the wine and spirits business, like what you kind of did / do maybe.
Yeah, I am actually like a manager, international brand manager for a wine company. And I go into different countries and territories, and we launch there and what have you. I mean, we have a really large distribution, and we're doing really well. Um, I've been with them for a long time, and I'm still with them. I love the company. I love the owners.
Yeah.
They're good people.
Has that experience over the years like really helped you with this business today, or how has it kind of helped you?
I think it does. I think it does. One, uh, it helps my palate because as I drink wine, as I drink whiskeys and I drink rums, and I've been doing this for so long, when I start smoking cigars, now I feel all the flavors, all the notes that it might have, and that helps in the process of making a good cigar. For me, a cigar needs to have balance. It's got to have sweetness, but it's got to have that pepperiness. It's got to be in there. Um, I like a clean cigar. Cigars I make are cigars that I like.
Yeah.
And
then you still have, variety of different stuff. Like you said, you start with the classic,
Yes.
a lighter shade. You have
Yeah.
the Maduro, of course. So, I mean, what are we at now in terms of blends? How many?
Oh, geez, it's tough. I could actually do a lot more, but I'm glad there's friends of mine that are like, hey, I want to come up with a cigar. I'm like, let me make a blend for you.
So in terms
But,
of Fermin Perez, or
Yeah,
Fermin
well,
Perez, at least,
for me, I have about 7 blends right now. So we have the Estelí, which is the newest one, which we're launching this year. Before that, we have Miami, which has got Ometepe, Jalapa. It's the sweet tips done really well. And we also have Esmeralda, which is a Connecticut, really nice, which has the Dominican, the Estelí in there. It's got a really nice blend, soft Connecticut, and then it just kicks you at the end. Then I also have another brand called Junior's Blend. That's kind of classic, very light. We also have something called Serie de Oro. That's got a really nice Ecuadorian wrapper with a Cuban seed Habano 2000, and brings out the flavors really nice. Very a good everyday cigar, priced right. You know, so I think those are kind of like the key. And I also have the Royale, which is a box press, a double Habano. Wrapper is Habano. Binder is also Habano. So it's kind of like a double, but it's a very refined cigar. Very
absolutely.
nice. Yeah.
So I think personally, and I mean, you can contribute on this how you see it. I do believe that the American market, what used to be a lot of stronger cigar smokers, like, they want bold, they want dark, has become a little bit more of intrigued with the nuance, like true medium, maybe even mild. So it sounds like you're working on stuff that's kind of feeding into the factor of people are changing their palates. Like, not everyone just wants a really strong Maduro. They're looking for more of the tobaccos that are lighter with nuance, nothing that's kicking them in the face or anything like that. I mean, is that what you see in the industry happening, or are you kind of feeding into that as well?
Well, the great thing about me is that I haven't been in the industry that long. And, it's funny because like guys sit with me and they're like, oh, you know this guy, you know that guy. Oh, have you ever had this? And I'm like, I haven't. I don't know very many people.
Yeah.
And so my approach is kind of maybe a fresh approach. I'm doing a cigar that I enjoy. I don't like cigars that are way too strong.
Yeah.
I don't want you to kick my ass. I want to enjoy it. I want to have those flavors in there. I want to have an experience with a cigar and feel good about it. So my classic, it's the soft Connecticut, but it's got flavor in there. So it's not going to be way too light, but it's not going to taste like paper.
Yeah.
So yes, I do believe that I am going after that maybe younger generation that may be going for something more refined, something that it is lighter. I do believe there is kind of like a misconception that everybody wants this stronger cigar. Coming from the wine industry, right? There's these wines that actually sell really well and they're expensive. So that's good. They're limited runs, they have really good wines, and they're great. But the majority of people will always go for something that is priced right, tastes good, and you can smoke it all day long. So I think you need to be in line with price. I think you need to be aligned with good flavors. That's not going to bore you, you know. And I think that's where the happy medium is. So I don't want to say that I'm too light, and I don't want to say I'm too strong.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like right in the middle, trying to get that customer that loves a good tasting cigar that can enjoy it, and it'll be an everyday cigar.
Absolutely.
I say with the Estelí, there's tons of flavor. I like a little bit of spice. It pairs well with the Buchanan 12 year. Yeah, I think there's a misconception about trying to smoke a really strong cigar. Like I could smoke a triple Maduro any day. That's me. But this right here is a perfect medium for me. I love the flavor. Hoping I can get another one. But it's really good, actually. I'm really impressed.
So this cigar came out, and I got to tell you, it kind of works this way. So we're doing these fumadas. I do these basically what we've kind of talked about when I do my presentations in cigar lounges. We'll get together and I'll tell them my experience, and then I kind of talk about what I do is I do these fumadas, and I get everybody to try these little fumadas that I do with the tobacco leaf as we're trying them. So the funny thing is this is an Estelí that has an Estelí ligero, but look how clean it is, right? So what happens is we take the Estelí ligero, we take the seco and the viso, and that actually doesn't have a wrapper. I use the vacío from the bottom of the leaf of the tobacco, the bigger leaf, and I used it as a wrapper.
Really?
Yeah. So that all comes from one bale, one spot, and it was just a creation. As when I was doing these, tastings, and I'm like, guys, man, this tastes so good, all by itself. Why don't we make a little cigar that it's 100% puro Estelí? And we came up with this.
So it's not complex. It's just a single leaf.
It's just one single leaf, but in different
Right.
areas of the tree.
I would say I'm halfway through. The consistency is amazing, which I like a consistent cigar. I don't like flavor changes. I can still taste a little bit of that spice. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's a spicy creaminess,
But it's not overwhelming either.
No. And you would think Estelí, when somebody tells you Estelí is, hey, it's going to have that power, right? And I'm not saying, and this comes back, there's different people that grow it different, that procure it different, right? So I like it cleaner, so you don't have that bitterness in your mouth and doesn't overdo it. So imagine this is a pure Estelí, and it's clean, it's creamy. So it's just about choosing the tobacco you want to put in your cigar.
Yeah, and I do think that, going back to kind of like the new generation of cigar smokers, a lot of what I've been hearing recently is people want cigars that are clean, and a lot of people refer to it as clean, like a clean palate afterwards, a cigar that isn't leaving like a really strong aftertaste. So I think that's becoming more popular too. People want, a nice clean cigar that has good flavor, is very smooth, and so did my lighter run out? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
It's always something. But yeah, so I mean, I think people are kind of transitioning, and I think that's too, as new cigar smokers are coming into the market, there's always new brands coming into, and existing brands are changing things up. You have a generation of the older generations where a lot of those guys would smoke one cigar every single day, same exact cigar. They found something they like and they would stick with that. But the newer generations coming in, they're like, well, I want to try different stuff. I want to keep it interesting. So I think that the consumer has been changing, and the existing and newer companies that are coming out are either new themselves. Like yourself, you're learning, you're teaching yourself, you're finding your own journey. So the market's kind of switching to a different palette, maybe overall, at least here in America.
again, I'm too young in the business to be able to tell you something like that. But
Well, I mean, me too. That's just my personal opinion.
yeah.
So.
But I think that is where I'm going. That is kind of, if you wanted to talk about a strategy, it's if you look at my boxes, you look at my designs, I'm kind of like, I want it to be a fresh start. I want it to be a little different. I come from a sales and distribution marketing background. I've been doing that for 25 years in the wine industry. I do really well with that, and I've always done that. Been brand managers for different big brands. So, and with that said, it's maybe in part why I've had I've done so well, right? Maybe, in the last 2 years, we've been growing exponentially really well, because maybe of the strategy, the way that I know how to do the sales and I know how to get into the system. I know that the packaging needs to be a particular way. Maybe the target audience that we're looking for, just like what you're saying, you guys are my target audience, but everybody smokes.
Yeah.
Everybody smokes. And it's funny, and I'll tell you, and I'll share something with you. I've sat with guys that love a Maduro, a really strong cigar. And then I thought, I got this little sweet tip, it's called the Miami, it's got Amatepe, and they're like, I don't want to try it. They go, they try it, and they're hooked. And I'm like, man, I thought you were a Maduro guy.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but this cleans my palate, It's like I need to refresh every once in a while, and this is a great cigar for refreshing. And so, what happens is, it comes back to what you're saying, right? I think the market is that. I think the beautiful thing about this is that, just like wines and liquors, you have your to-go-to, but then, you always go back and forth and try different cigars. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic.
I like what you said in the very beginning, that you made cigars that you like, and you're not really trying to target any particular audience. So it's kind of like, it's almost as if like you're cooking or baking in the kitchen, and you're just sharing what you think is great, and getting all the other people involved as well, and kind of growing that way. It's a different kind of strategy. Instead of like making a Maduro that's really strong and then targeting a certain audience just for Maduros, or like a Connecticut that's super light just for Connecticut smokers.
Yeah.
You're doing it in a different kind of way.
I have a hard time trying to sell something that I don't enjoy.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, I mean, I've got to believe in whatever I'm doing, to be able to sell it. And I think that's why I almost took like a year and a half, 2 years, that I kept going and learning. I went to the fields, I went to the land, I learned about the tobacco, learned how it grows, I learned about the aging, I learned about the fermentation, the way that you construct a tobacco, a cigar. So, I wanted to do all that before I tell you, for the first 2 years, I did not sell into one cigar lounge.
Really?
Not one. I'll be like, I had a good friend that has a store, and I would sell there, but because it was him. But I started my business in liquor stores.
Okay.
Yeah, because obviously I sell wines.
Yeah.
And all those liquor stores. So in South Florida, we probably have about 50 to 60 liquor stores that sell my product, and that's where we started.
Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of like a learning experience while I had it, because I still have my full-time job that I really enjoy, and I wanted to learn more, and I gave myself that pace.
Yeah.
But the last 2 years we've been growing very, very fast.
Yeah. So I mean, it's great you were able to leverage your current connections to get into liquor stores, because I do think that, I mean, for most brands, liquor stores really aren't even like their target, whether because it's too much competition or they only want to take, like the mainstream stuff, whatever the reasoning is. But you were in a position where you could leverage your connections that existed to, get into the liquor stores. And I do like what you said too about being patient and giving yourself time to learn, because, the opposite of that is, you go dive in head first, and, it's good to do that, but now you're kind of at a disadvantage because you have to learn so much more.
Yeah.
But if you can kind of sit back and like research, so to say, or learn from a distance, then that first few times you go into the actual cigar shops and the cigar lounge, you have a little bit more knowledge and understanding to have a higher success rate in the beginning.
Absolutely. You know, I would. The funny thing is that I went to some of the larger accounts, you know, when I got started, and they started asking me all these questions, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh boy,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because you don't know what to expect.
yeah. So and it's good, and it's good that owners and buyers know and learn so much about, you know, cigars, because they're actually helping the consumers
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And I think it's smart, and I think we are going there. This is, you know, that question you were asking. Where I do think the industry is going is to a smarter consumer. You
An
know,
educated consumer.
yeah, educated consumer, and this is why I try to educate. You know, because I, geez, I don't know how many lounges, you know, or how many people actually go into a lounge and just, this is a big name brand.
Yeah.
This is where I should go. Why? But what type of wrapper does it have? What fillers does it have? You know, what is it you like? Oh, you like Maduros, but why do you like a Maduro? You know, what's in it? You know, where is it from? You know, is it a Corojo? Wow. You know, maybe there's something that you like. And then if you like San Andres, then you can try different San Andres
Yeah.
from different providers. You know, how cool is that? It's like wine, right? You know, you like Cabernet, well, Napa Valley, Russian Valley, you know, you want Chile, you want Argentina, you want, you know, come on. So if you know that much about that, you know, you can bring that into the aspect of the cigar, and imagine how much beautiful it would be to learning a little bit more every single time as you smoke a cigar. Yeah, I think you will enjoy it more.
Yeah, 100%. No, and I think even still today, a majority of the consumers are guys like that, you know, they go in, maybe it's a shop, or they order online and they get that one cigar and they try it and they like it. It's like, great, I like cigars. So they stick with that one. But when you're able to go into a lounge or a bar and have the tobacconist there that can say, hey, like, you know, what do you like? And they say, oh, I've had, you know, Monte Cristo White. Okay, well, are you looking to try something else? Like, well, you know, give this a shot. It's similar, whatever. Put them on the path of trying new things. And I think what you said is essentially having yourself as the brand owner or rep or whatever, and having an understanding with the owner or manager of the retail location helps in the end, because if they're on the same page with your brand as you are, then when the consumer walks in and says, I'm looking for something different, I'm looking for something like this, they say, well, I know there's this one cigar, you know, you should try. It's Fermin Perez. You know, give it a shot. So yeah, the education just all around.
Absolutely. And, you know, and coming back to you said something that's pretty interesting, right? Is I go to the stores. I know a lot of the big guys do it too, but I go to the stores and I wanted to know what people are looking for, what they're buying, what size stick. You know,
Asking more questions.
I ask a lot of questions, you know, while I'm out there. I want to create a product that obviously sells,
Yeah.
you know, but keeping my my vision of what I want, my flavors are.
Yeah.
So the reality is that it is out there, and there are a lot of guys that are learning more and more. I do some classes down here in South Florida, and I've done classes, and I'm amazed. I will have 100 people show up,
Wow.
and I actually have to split the class into two. We did one we've done here in Empire, and I've actually I've done like three here because hey, I want to see it. I want to learn more, and it's fantastic that everybody wants to learn more. So yeah. So I want to keep doing this northern and keep going and teaching everything I can.
Yeah.
And it's very simple. I keep it simple. I talk about wine and compare wine to tobacco, the fields, the areas, the land, and how that changes the tobacco.
Yeah. I think the whole conversation, you know, kind of going to the educational aspect is, I think consumers as well are learning that they enjoy an experience type of event more or an educational type of event more? Because most people, they do, cut and light, or that's been kind of the thing for a long time. You show up as an owner or rep or whatever. Hey, here's my cigar, try my cigar. But there's been so much success in an educational event or like a fuma tasting event, and people love learning about why a cigar is what it is or why they like the cigar, like you said. So I think that has become more and more successful recently is, okay, we get to go to this event, we get to meet this guy, and he's going to teach us why his cigar is what it is or what he does and how it came to be. I think that is what the consumers are like leaning for more.
I have so much fun because what I do is I actually bring 4 fumadas, right? So I'll bring an Estelí, I'll bring a Condega, an Ometepe, and a Jalapa.
Nice.
And then I talk about each area. And then the greatest thing is that every time I finish, a couple of guys come up to me and they're like, if you put the Ometepe together with the Jalapa and you smoke them together and you put the other, and you smoke that, and I'm like, look at the sign. Read the Miami. It has that exact blend that you're trying. And then I go, if you try with this version, you're smoking my Habano. And it's funny because they actually everybody gets really into it.
Yeah.
And I have actually had people come up and say, "Wow, now I know that the tobacco I really like and I really enjoy is the Jalapa, which is sweeter." Or somebody will come and say, "Man, I really like the Ometepe. It's got so minerally, it's so good." So it educates them. So it's a little different. So, anyways, that's the part on education. At least for me, I got to make a difference. As a small guy, and I wanted to share my story. It's kind of like I do that because it's the way that I learn.
Yeah.
About cigars. So. And when I do those classes, I basically talk about that, how I got there and how I try. And then I put those fumadas together and we make them, try that. Yeah. So it's fun.
It is for sure. I mean, the first fuma tasting that I did was with Aganorsa Leaf, Terrence Riley and Jeff Groover. And, they do it kind of like similar to what you do, where they give, 3 or 4 different fumas. And by the time you smoke all 3, they're like, yeah, so now you're smoking this cigar. Yeah. Or if you smoke these 2 or these 3, you're smoking this cigar. And then people are like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like they try the first wrapper, they're like, well, it's really salty. They try the other one, it's like, it's sweeter. Then they put them together and it's like, now I get it. Now I understand.
You said something very important that I always say. You have to have balance, right? So you just said one's salty and the other one's sweet. So, to make a perfect cocktail, what do you need? Sweet and sour.
Yeah.
Right, so you got to have that. So you have that balance when you're making a cigar.
Yeah.
If you make something too bittery, it's not going to taste right. You might like it at the beginning, but it's not going to be something that you're going to be happy with, and you're not going to be able to smoke it all throughout.
Yeah.
You want a cigar?
Oh yes, please.
Because we got cigars.
Thank you.
Yeah, because you guys already smoked that away. Here, you can have the next one.
Thank you. Yeah.
Be ready for it.
It'll be ready soon.
So yeah, man, so it's been a fun journey for me. I've enjoyed it. I'm having fun. The people in the industry are so much nicer than in the wine and liquor industry.
Man. I mean,
they're so much fun. I mean, I just spent a few days down there in Nicaragua. It's fantastic, and I got to tell you, I really enjoy.
Yeah, I mean,
working
for
in this industry.
Essentially, 3+ years that we've been doing it, we've found that too. Is just people we have on our show, people we meet out there. Everyone's just, we're just the guys. We're the girls. We're just people hanging out. We all like cigars, and a lot of the people that you meet, like we were talking about Terrence and all these other guys, the nicest people you ever met. Very humble, regardless of what position they're in or how big and successful they are.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're all just hanging out, smoking and talking.
I think it's really the culture, like family values, especially when it's passed down from generation to generation, the companies. Mm-hmm. Everyone's learning from each other. Yeah. Consumers, buyers.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, too, like big companies, Davidoff, Padron, Toro Fuente, you meet those guys and it's just another man.
Yeah.
It's just another guy,
They're all great guys, man. It's just, listen, it's, in a way, you got to remember, we meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
But Arturo's phenomenal guy. George from Padron's a nice guy.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere you go, everywhere you meet these guys, you know, they're always going to say hello to you. You know, you can't expect them to remember you.
Yeah.
But, you know, even me, I mean, I do so much. But, you know, the thing is that they're really good guys.
Yeah.
And they're honestly really nice.
Yeah.
You know, it was funny is, I won't say specific, but Adele from AJ Fernandez came up to a friend of mine when we were in Nicaragua, hugged him and said, "Hey, man, thanks for posting so much for me." That's nice.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking
Yeah.
about my brand,
Yeah.
but I've seen you, and you took out the time to come and say that. That's very nice.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, just the recognition, like the simple things too, because
Yeah.
it all counts. Like someone that has a social media account that's got a decent following, they're posting all the pictures, whatever. That helps in the long run for these
Yeah.
brands. And yeah, I mean, to show the appreciation as an owner of a really large company, that's always great.
Yeah,
of
so
course.
it's very nice.
Yeah.
So it's something that's interesting, you know, and we just need to be humble and be thankful,
Yeah.
you know. So and listen, I don't expect my cigars to be loved by everybody.
Mhm.
You know, if there's a segment that's going to like what I have, and there's a segment that's not, it's
Yeah.
okay.
That's just reality of everything, you know.
Yeah.
Like you can't please everyone.
No,
And I like that you have the balance of I'm making stuff I like, but of course,
Yeah.
I'm making sure that the consumers will like it too. But yeah, you got to understand that not everyone's going to like it, and if
Yeah.
you let that get to you, then you start getting bitter and you don't enjoy it anymore. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I mean that's just most of the successful companies. They understand that too. They know that not everyone's gonna, there's Padron and there's Davidoff, two different spectrums of, palate and flavor and profile. But there's enough to go around for everyone.
Especially that first year, you said you only had one store. It's probably really discouraging at first, but you kind of stuck through it, and you kind of skyrocketed at that first year.
But I had one cigar lounge, but I had like 50
Liquor
stores and what have you, and it was small. And and the reality is that I was learning, so it was okay. It was I was just learning. Now we do about 20,000 cigars a month, 25,000 cigars a month, and we are continuously growing. So started the year really strong.
Yeah.
And we'll see where we go.
Yeah. And I know people are going to ask that when they're watching this. They're going to want to know where to get it. I know you have a big presence here in South Florida. Are you able to shout out maybe like some online retailers that you work with, or people from the nation can order?
We work with smallbatch.com. There's also Cuenca Cigars, and those are the two biggest kind of like online that we have. I also have the Cigar Thief. And if you're in wholesale, then it would be SC Wholesale from Philadelphia. They distribute for us.
Very nice. Yeah.
That'll be us out there. But besides that, man, Miami's fun. It's the nightlife. It's good. Did you guys get around and go to Little Havana?
Yeah. So we haven't been to Little Havana yet. I mean, before, yeah, but yesterday we spent the whole day in Doral. Usually, we have to. You take one full day in each neighborhood or each city, I mean, I got a list of 10 places to go to and I can maybe get to 5. Because too, we come here, we go to all these places, I'll be there for an hour, but then it turns into 2 hours, 3 hours. You meet nice people, you're just talking. So yeah, South Florida it's a whole different animal, man. I mean, you get stuck at these places just because, you don't want to leave. You're having good conversation, good time, whatever. But yeah, we spent the day in Doral yesterday, and it was really great. Tabacon, take care of you too. We were there.
Yeah, I'm in there too.
Yeah, we were at Sabor Havana there as well.
I'm there as well.
Yeah. We went to Caribbean. That was the first one.
Okay.
Met Alan. But yeah, I mean, just whenever we come down here, we try to spend, one day in each area, meet new people or, revisit friends. But of course, somehow we always end up back here at Empire.
Right here at Empire. This is a great place.
Yeah.
It's a great place.
Yeah, and this was kind of like my introduction into the market, the Miami market too. So I mean, my first event was here. My first technically South Florida account was here. So I mean, and Alex and Byron, the whole staff, they're all great guys. So it's always great to come back.
It's surprising that this is a very upscale place, very unique place, and that they're so open to working with people and the educational part. Because every week they do something educational. So Empire is a lot about that. You know, there's a few lounges that are about that as well.
Yeah.
So I tell you, I enjoy this place because they opened the door for me.
Of course.
They were one of the first places that I owned. You know, what's funny is because I know Byron, who runs the place, the humidor, from before, and I'll tell you, before cigar business and what have you, and I see him at another shop, and he's having lunch with his son, and I say, "Hey, how you doing?" "Hey, good, man." You know, and I say, hey, you know, he had just finished, and I say, "Hey, you want to try my cigar? Here, have one." I wasn't pushing it, you know, trying to sell him or anything like that, just because we're friends from
Yeah.
before. And he starts smoking it. He kind of like looks at me and goes,
You made this?
It was like,
"You
this
did
sucks, or is he like,
This is you? What's going on here?" He goes, "I know you've been doing the stuff, but you know, this is good. Come see me on Wednesday."
Yeah.
So I came over, and that was about 2.5 years ago, you know, and geez, they have almost everything, and the members here, you know, they enjoy my cigars because every month we do really well here.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a great place. It's a great place. Good people.
Well, and two, I mean, like as it is in most places, the humidor is only so big. Even the big humidors, you know, and Empire here, they have a great size humidor,
Yeah.
but there's only so much room at the end of the day. So the value of getting into a new place, especially a place like this, does show that there is value in this product, whether it's the product, the brand, all of it. So I know that when they take in a new brand, it's definitely, there's something special about it because they've got Davidoff, Padron, all the big guys, you know, Fuente, of course. So yeah, having a newer brand in there does show, you know, that there is something valuable there, something special.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were pretty adamant at the beginning. You know, they said, you know, if this shit doesn't sell, you're out of here. You
Right,
know
of
that
course,
we love you, but if it doesn't do
It's
well,
a business at the end of the day.
you know. And I said, absolutely, man. It's completely understandable, you know, and that's why I did the educational things, and I gave them some support, and you know, came in here and talked to people. You got to do that.
Yeah.
It's one store at a time.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta create that, and that's what I've done in South Florida. You know,
Yeah, of course.
So I have a lot of good friends here that follow me, and a lot of followers that love me. I mean, the other night I was at an event, and you know, I was telling you about Aganosa, and Terrence was there, and he recognized me, and I'm like, wow, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And besides that, then all the guys from Southern Command kind of came up to me, "Hey, Fermin, you know, love your cigar, man."
Yeah.
You're the... So I had like a little group, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, that they recognize me, and they continue to support, you know, smaller brands. You know,
Well, like you said, I mean, when you come in and you do one class at a time or one educational, one event, it builds up over time. So when you're 3-4 years down the road, you start to realize like it gets a little easier because of that recognition. So when you start expanding, then people are like, "Oh yeah, I have heard of this. You know, I've heard good things."
yeah.
Then that kind of, you know, makes the barrier to entry a little bit easier than when you first started and you're just going in, "Hey, here's my cigar." And it's like, "Who are you?" You know, like, "Who's this guy?"
I think in general, you spend a lot of time and money making this. And it's something, it's like your baby.
Yeah.
And so you took a risk, an investment, and then you see other people come up to you and appreciate you for contributing back to the cigar community. And it's a good feeling, I think.
Yeah, and you know, it's very hard, this business. You know, so if anybody out there wants to start this business, I would say, you know, like what Eric Espinosa tells me, he's like, get out.
Yeah.
You know.
Or don't do it for the money, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you got a lot of money, you know, don't do it for the money. Enjoy it, have fun, smoking on cigars. You know. But it was funny because Eric Espinosa told me that the other day. He's like, get out, man. Why did you get into this business? And the funny thing is, we were watching the game, you know, just before they lost, the one before. He comes up to me, he hugs me, he goes, "You're doing well, kid." So it's a good thing, you know, and it comes back to that. You didn't need to do that, you know. It's nice, right?
Yeah.
So it's a tough business.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's a tough business. It's hard to get into stores, and the owners need to know that. You know, if you're coming out with a brand, you know what's going to set you apart from everybody else, or at least do it and keep learning. And you know, if something great happens, it's great.
Yeah.
I'm nowhere near. I mean, I still have way more to go.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I think those comments where, you know, people that have been in the industry for a long time, a lot of times they'll say like, you know, you don't want to get into this, or like, you know, it's not really from like a negative standpoint. It's almost like you said, a lot of
look
people
out for you, right?
Well, yeah, a lot of people just don't know how hard it really is. And even when you do it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, every year you realize like how much harder it actually is. Like, you know, you think you know a lot, and then you learn some more and you realize you know nothing. And then it's like every year that goes by, it's like, dang, I really do know nothing.
it gets harder.
Yeah, it gets harder and harder.
It gets harder.
Because you start to understand more and more.
Eric was telling me that he's like, it gets harder for me. It doesn't get easier.
Yeah.
You know, it's so I mean, he works nonstop too.
Yeah.
You know, he's done really great for himself. So, but I know Eric from before the business. I used to buy his cigars. He used to come to that one lounge that I had. He was good friends with the owner. So we would always play dominoes together, you know, what have you. So, but, you know, it comes back to that is this is a tough business. Just like if you were opening a winery or any other business, a restaurant, whatever, you know. You just got to keep doing it. You keep doing it. And evolve.
Yeah.
You know, if something's wrong, change it.
Yeah, I think, and what I say a lot of times is, I think that the barrier to entry for the cigar industry is actually lower than most people would expect, but the success rate, like what you have to do to succeed, is actually much harder. So like you can get into the industry, like you can start a brand with a few $1,000s or whatever.
Sure.
Like, yeah, but to take it and make something out of it is way harder than people might imagine. Because yeah, people have asked me before, like, whoa, how much does it cost to start a cigar brand? I'm like, well, you could get away with like, you know, 5 or 10 grand to start a brand.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's gonna, you know, double overnight, and you know, it's gonna be a shitty first year, second year. But yeah, so I mean, you have to understand that too. It's like you can do it, sure, you can start, but you got to be in it for the long run. You got to be able to do it year in and year out, year after year.
Absolutely.
And be okay with that slow growth and learning.
Yeah, you got to learn. I mean, I recommend learn.
Yeah.
Don't just because somebody else makes your cigar, it shouldn't take away from you knowing a little bit more about what you have. You know, actually learning why that process is that particular way.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's good. But you know, talking about moments for me. Last year in November, PCA reached out and said, "Hey, we're doing something with FIU. They have this class, which is fantastic. I recommend. They're actually going to do it again next year. But they kind of chose me and they said, where do you want to go? So I gave them a couple places, and we did it at Aficionados in Pembroke Pines, and so I was kind of like their kind of non-official opening to that week that they were here with FIU, and I was there with Josh and Ricardo, and me and Ricardo it was really great because he loves Nicaragua obviously, and he and I did a presentation, and there must have been over 100 people there from the industry and what have you, and we were talking about, because we get emotional about what we talk about the cigars, and it was fantastic because it was like everybody's like, did you guys script this? Because you and Ricardo, you guys did so great, you know, and you could hear a pin drop, and that was beautiful because everybody was very emotional and connected into learning more, you know, about the industry and learning more about everything that's going on.
Yeah.
So the PCA is actually doing something new, doing a new initiative, and I think it's great where it's also with consumers, not only retailers and what have you. It's like an advocate. So it actually gets more voices, more votes towards helping us get better laws for us to.
So the class you did through the college, was that like an announcement saying like it's an introductory course, or did they actually get like actual credit through the college?
You know, I'm not sure. I don't think it was credited, and they did that. I didn't have anything to do with that. But the PCA did it with with FIU, and they're doing it next year. And it's actually just learning more about how the wine and spirits industry and the restaurant industry can mingle with cigars. So it was learning about how to manage a cigar lounge or how to market. And so you got all these different brands that came in and like gave you their insight. I heard a lot of good things from
Was it like a
so.
free course or like?
I think it was like $500 for 3 days, something like that. Which
it'd be so cool if they got like a 1 or 2 credit elective.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think kind of what you're saying, like what PCA is doing to bring even consumers into like that whole thing is, at the end of the day, this industry has faced a lot of pushback and regulation, of course, from the government and just society overall. And we've kind of hit a point where society is becoming more educated on cigars and saying, oh, okay, well, I always just thought they were big cigarettes. You know, like people smoke cigars. Like, I mean, we're in Miami. Like people smoke cigars everywhere.
Everywhere.
Like, Latin Cafe, there's the guys smoking cigars out there. So it's different here. But just across the board, it's like, yeah, I mean, I just thought cigars were big cigarettes. And I think that not me.
Okay.
I think that the education of consumers and getting consumers involved over time is going to help the industry overall. Because like at the end of the day, if the tobacco industry, the premium cigar industry cannot fight off regulations or whatever and get society on board, then it's a wrap for everyone. Yeah. And the consumer is like, what happened? So I think it's great what they're doing about getting everyone involved so that, you know, you get to a point where the government, let's say, is just like, well, you know, what are we going to do?
Mm-hmm. Now this is 60% taxes.
Yeah, I mean,
I want to be able to smoke a $7-8 stick and be okay.
Yeah.
You know, some of these states, they have a lot of taxes. It's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for like states like New York and California.
Yeah.
I mean, the consumers up there, it's a whole different ballgame for them. Because a cigar that's $10 over here, it might be 20 or 30 depending on where they're going.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's just they come down here and buy a bunch of cigars and bring back just because. Yeah, it's crazy what they're doing up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes you got to put a little bit of, you know, you don't have to go to, you know, do a rally, you know, but at least it's some type of support, I guess, you know. So, but yeah, so that was a moment, you know, for them to kind of back me up, you know, kind of legitimize me a little more, you know. So that was kind of nice, and it's been fun, man.
Yeah. And you'll be at PCA this year, I'm assuming.
I'm gonna be with the wholesaler, my wholesaler, which is SC Wholesale. Yeah. I decided not to.
Yeah.
I might.
Like
I still haven't like.
to a booth.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go with the distributor. I have a couple of people that are gonna see me there and stores, so I'll be there.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the PCA in general, like just the event itself, that convention, it helps so much too. You know, like just meeting new people at the very least to help get your name out there. Of course, the business that you can do there. So I mean, it's great, and it's a great time.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I have it's a fantastic time.
Yeah.
I've done it for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like I at least have my own little booth, and I do something, you know, small. But I've always been there. I've always been. Actually, this is going to be probably the first year that I won't actually have a booth of my own. Just because of the, you know, for the northern part, Florida, I mostly do myself. But the northern part and all that, I let SC Wholesale kind of take care of that. So we're good. You know, I don't need to have all that splash. I mean, 80% of my business is done in Florida.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know. So I do want next year, I'll get something a little nicer set up. Yeah. But this year is more. I think. Did we talk about it? We made we now have the retail store in Estelí, Nicaragua.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you know, if you want to learn about tobacco, you want to learn about cigars, not only you visit the factory, but you can also sit there, have some rum, you know, and enjoy a cigar.
Yeah. How often are you flying back and forth from Nicaragua and here?
You know, I can only go like weekends because I still work, but I try to go at least once a month.
Yeah.
You know, I'll go for 3 or 4 days. 3 days, boop, quick, in and out. You know, every holiday I'm there.
Yeah.
You know, so I try to get away as much as I can, but you know, the money's here.
Yeah.
You know, the factory's there. I got good guys. I got a good team, and but we talk all day long.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Man, how are you enjoying that?
Light yours up and tell me.
I think I'm going to.
You think?
Well, I'm definitely going to. I might make a video with it too, and maybe get something to eat. I know, you got an event that you're gonna go to. We'll probably get some lunch,
Probably.
maybe hang out here a little bit until we got some stuff to do.
Sounds
But yeah,
good.
so
Was that good? Are we done?
no, this is great. Yeah, we can wrap it up here if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did I talk only about I don't know if we wanted to talk about.
No,
but
this is good.
Next time we can just shoot the shit.
Yeah, this is what I do. I hit it about an hour at least. Wrap it up here. I mean, yeah, like I said, I was
Did
telling
we
you
do
before.
an hour?
Oh yeah, that was an hour.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
It's really fast. It
flies.
feels so fast.
No, but like I said too, whenever we have a guest for the first time, obviously we got to introduce, learn about the brand,
Yeah.
The second time you come on, we'll get drunk and talk the shit, of course. But I do want to thank you for coming on the show, introducing the brand to our consumers and stuff, and just talking. Of course, it was great meeting you the first time and getting to know you a little better. And like I said, I think you have a really great story and a unique story, and I like the work that you're doing. So
Thanks,
great.
man. I appreciate
absolutely.
it. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Of course. Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
We'll be seeing more of you.
Absolutely.
And thank you guys for tuning in to the Cigar Guys Podcast. We'll see you next week. Take care.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Cigar Guys Podcast. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with all the latest episodes. Looking for short form content? Check out all our social media accounts in the description below. And now, a final word from our sponsors.
What if every cigar was considered vintage? What if every cigar that we made was that perfect experience? And so that passion drove us to create Sans Pareil, a cigar without equal. The inspiration between Sans Pareil is 100% all about quality. Everything that we enjoy in our cigars, everything from the tasting notes to the burn, to the aroma, to the way the cigar lights, to the packaging, everything is focused on Sans Pareil cigars. And that's where we came up with our name, Sans Pareil, which is French for without equal, unparalleled. And we take every cigar that we make to that level, making sure that if it isn't something that inspires you to do something more, then it's not part of the portfolio, and that's what drives us every day.